Andrew adds salt to 1,000 grams of a 25% salt solution. And after all the salt dissolves, the concentration of the solution becomes 50%. Later, he decides he needs a 30% salt solution instead. How many grams of water does he need to add? Alright, well, the most important thing to know is to understand what we mean when we say a 25% salt solution, okay, or whatever percentage. So what it means is, when we say 25% salt solution, that means 25 out of every 100 grams of total solution is salt, okay? So 25 out of 100 is salt, and we're told that it's by mass, all right? So we're told grams, so 25 grams out of every 100 grams is salt, okay? So this is the total, and this is the salt, okay? Now, if we've got 1,000 grams total, so we just add a 0 here, that means we have 250 grams of salt, all right? So what we're starting out with is 250 grams of salt and 1,000 grams of water. Well, 1,000 grams total. Okay, so that includes the water and the salt. And we're going to add salt to it. So we add some salt and it becomes 50%. So we add x grams of salt. And when we add x grams of salt, we also add to the total amount, the total mass of the solution, okay? And we're told that that is 50%, so that's 50 out of 100. So the ratio is 50 out of 100, or we could say 1/2 if we wanted to. 1/2 might be a little bit easier to work with, because in order to solve this, what we need to do is cross multiply. Okay, so if we take essentially what we're doing is multiplying both sides by 2. Alright, so multiply both sides by 2, and that gets rid of the denominator over here, and then we multiply both sides by 1,000 plus x. Alright, so if we multiply both sides, we multiply this by 1,000 plus x. Alright, and so then we get rid of the denominators. Alright, but it's the same thing as cross multiplying. So what we end up with is, let me see, we end up with 500 plus 2x. Okay, I'm just multiplying 2 times the 250 plus x. And then I need to multiply, well, this is just 1 over here. So that's equal to 1,000 plus x. Okay? So that's pretty easy to solve. If we just subtract x from both sides, we end up with x on this side. And then we can subtract 500 from both sides. Because you know, if we do the same thing to both sides of an equal sign, it's still equal. Alright, so then we have 500. So, x is 500. Now what did we define x as? X is the amount of salt that Andrew adds to create this 50% salt solution. So we added 500 grams. Alright, but we're not quite done. What we've got now is the 50% solution, so we know that he added 500 grams to get that. But then he decides he needs the 30% salt solution, so he's got to water it down. Alright, so what have we got now? So now we have a total of 1,500 grams of solution, right? Because we had 1,000 and we added 500 grams of salt. So this is the grams of solution. And we have a total of 500 plus 250. We have a total of 750 grams of salt in that solution. Alright? So that's where we're at now. And now we have to water it down to get a 30% solution. So let's just look at the ratios again of salt to the total. So we have 750 grams of salt. Now we're not adding any more salt. We're just adding water. So we have 1,500 grams of total total solution. And we're going to add water, so it's only going to add to the total, and it's not going to add to the salt. Alright, so we're going to add, well, let's just use y in this case, since we already had x over here. So we're adding y grams of water to the total. The amount of salt doesn't change, and we want it to be 30%, 30 out of 100. Okay, or you can make that, oops, I meant 30 out of 100, I wrote 30 out of 1,000, so let me just erase that. There we go. Alright, so that's just 3 over 10 if I reduce that down. Alright, so again, let's cross multiply. And then we end up with 7500. Okay, when we cross multiply the 10 times the 750. And then we can multiply this 1500 plus y times 3, and we end up with 4500 plus 3y. Alright. So that's not too hard to solve. We can subtract 4500 from both sides. We end up with 3000 over here is equal to 3y. So y has to be 1,000 grams. So y in this case was the amount of water that we added. Okay, so that is telling us that in order to water this solution down now to a 30% solution, we have to add 1,000 grams of water. And that's what they asked for.